What is up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome back to Matt's Morning Show. We're out here today on a night of lake. I got my first guest, my weekly guest, Mr. Paul Messina. How we doing, Paul? We're gonna change Paul's name to Mr. Big Perch this morning. What was that big one? 12 and 3/4?
12 and 3/4.
Man, and had a couple other 11 and a halves.
Yep.
Pushing 12, big fat perch. Oy. Nice big high yield males too. We've caught plenty of fish this morning and quite a few walleyes, just no keepers. I don't think we've broke 14, little over 14 inches on a walleye. 14 and a quarter. And have had a pretty good screen all day. I came back out to where I was yesterday and I saw them good and didn't catch them. Like I said, we've had a steady pick of perch all day. I mean, and oh, there's something. Oh, is he still there? No, I don't think so. That was a hole in one right there, and I wasn't ready. Yeah, that was a hole in one. What's a hole in one, Matt? Well, my old friend Captain Tony Buffa says that's when you cast whatever you're jigging, it falls to the bottom, and between it falling to the bottom and your first jig, they've already picked it up. So when you lift it up that first time, you feel a fish there. That's a hole in one. So when you hear me say that, that's what I mean. And it happens more than you think, strangely. Like it happens quite a lot where that first lift, that fish has sat and watched it fall all the way from the bottom or from the top. Pretty busy out here for a Monday morning too. The West End is full of people. It's full of perch, so there's so many perch fishermen around. And you can... Oh. This is a dink compared to what we've been catching. And most of them this morning, we've had to do surgery on them because they've had the whole rear treble hook completely in their mouth. Multiple times we've had to deal with that. Another east wind this morning. It's perfect. I mean, it's a nice drift. It's probably 5 to 7, 8 miles an hour. Water temp is warmed up. It's 54.1. So this beautiful weekend, and it was only in the 50s last night. It never cooled off. So that's going to give you that couple degree up and down, back and forth. But surface temp on the west end is 54 degrees. I was out deep over the weekend, and main lake temperatures on the surface were mid to upper 50s, 55 to 57 I saw them. So it just depends on what the daytime temperatures and nighttime temperatures are doing. We had such a beautiful weekend, just picture perfect. Today and tomorrow are supposed to be like that. Clear blue sky, just perfect fall weather. 60s, high 60s. No SU football this weekend, which really kind of stinked because I've really enjoyed watching them this year. They play Thursday night, I think, against Pittsburgh. Thursday or Friday night against Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh. That's going to be a tough game. As far as the NFL yesterday, big winners and losers. I didn't watch much. My Dolphins got beat by the Colts. I mean, we were able to score one touchdown all game. Probably a lost year for me. Again, we're 2-4 right now. We were talking, I don't know who won the lake. Criminy, we whacked it right there while it was sitting there. The late game were the Steelers and the Jets. And I watched that for a while, although neither team looked terribly impressive. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't look anything like Aaron Rodgers of old with the Jets. Now I don't know. I don't know if that will ever happen. Even now with Devontae Adams. We'll see. I hope it doesn't, because I don't like the Jets. And the AFC East has only got one team above 500, and that's the Bills, unfortunately. And as an AFC East guy and Miami Dolphins guy, I don't like the Jets. I don't like the Bills. I really don't like the Patriots, but they're completely irrelevant again now. So they had their run, though. Nobody in New England should complain. Like what do you think how long until people in New England can say, "Oh, we haven't won one in so long"? Like how long could people come back and say, after all those amazing years with Brady and Belichick, 10 years minimum, right? 10 years minimum before any Patriots fans can say a word. That seems reasonable. If you're a Browns fan, looked like you lost your quarterback for the season yesterday, which might be a good thing because Deshaun Watson was a train wreck in Cleveland this year. Paul's on. What do we got? Big old perch. Is it, or a small walleye? No, small walleye. Yep, another one. 13, 14 inches. Beautiful, healthy fish. Nice looking, yep. Yeah. Yeah, we're right on our same lines. There's obviously a good number of fish around here, and so I'll show everybody. So those are perch right there, most likely. But we've had a pretty steady screen. They just, like yesterday for me, I don't know how everybody did yesterday that was out. I had a good enough screen where I should have been catching fish left and right, and I caught 3 perch, 2 bigs and a little. And threw everything at them over and over, and they didn't want to play. You know, that happens. And that was one of 3 schools I found yesterday that I worked pretty thoroughly, I thought. No dice. Part of me is still getting used to my jigging stroke with my left hand, and feeling it, and really, you don't realize your dominant hand, and if you're a spin fisherman all your life and you're jigging with your right arm, it's a whole different world. He was way out there, wasn't he? Oh, another eye. Yep. Another eye, just about the same size. Yep. God, that's got to be our 10th walleye, I would think. We've been in 19 to 21 foot all day. We're just down, we're just east of the island. Well, now we're not, but we started just east of the islands, of the western tip of it. Between the island and 3 Mile Point, it's the west end of the triangle. The Golden Triangle is from 3 Mile Point to the west end of what is that, Dunham, Frenchman, whichever one it is, and then out to Wantry. That's the triangle. Oh, hey now. I'm not paying attention. Oh, and he come off again. Oh, I'm not getting a positive, correct hook set. I can tell you that right now. You want again? Yep, good. We got some active ones right here. We just need to have them be a little bit bigger size. Another big perch. Man. Boy, people would take a bucket full of them all day long. Make some good tacos. Like a fish sandwich. Pretty fish. We were just laughing a few minutes ago. Paul showed me a video of this comedian talking about driving with his wife. I was in tears. We were in tears listening to it. This guy was talking about driving with his wife, and he's like, "It's so nice. I have such a good little helper in the vehicle now." He goes, "She tells me how fast I'm going. She tells me what color the light is." Tim Hawkins is the comedian. Oh my God, it was hilarious. We laughed out here. Everybody around us must have thought we were goofier than a shithouse rat because we're out here giggling and laughing. Oh, it's so funny because I don't know. I'm assuming every guy is the same with their wife, and every wife is the same with their guy. My wife, if I get within 4 car lengths of a vehicle, she's like, and it scares the shit out of me because I think we're about to have an accident, and I'm like, what's the matter? She goes, well, you're too close to the car in front of you. I go, oh my God, it's a half a mile away. No, she tells me how fast I'm going all the time, usually in a school zone. So he kept saying, he's like, it's nice, I got a little helper in the car. Oh my God, it was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. We've had a very fun and light conversation during this morning's fishing. Some days you tackle the problems of the world and politics and all that crazy stuff that gets people all wound up. And listen, the election's coming soon. It's 3 weeks from tomorrow? That's hard to believe. It really is hard to believe, considering it was like yesterday that they took a pot shot at Trump and although without getting into any negative stuff, like how come we still haven't heard anything more about the kid that single-handedly foiled a whole Secret Service detachment and got 8 rounds off? Man, another big perch. Yep, there he goes. How come we've heard nothing about that? Or the second guy that waited in the weeds for 12 hours? That. I think that's the frustrating point of most people in this country, is who do you believe? Who's telling the truth in any way, shape, or form? Media, social media, the politicians themselves, no matter what side they're on. Like, the issue I think we face in this country is so much information and not knowing really who's telling us the truth. And I know that there's a whole portion of the country that don't even want to know the truth, whatever it may be. I get it. Problem is, I don't think as citizens of this country we can bury our head in the sand for much longer before it really bites us in the ass. Or we end up with something or someone right at the boat. Let's see. That one's getting smaller. It's only 13 and a half.
It looked bigger.
Yeah, it looked bigger coming up through the water column. Say hello to my little friend. Little being the key word. But I just don't know. I just think everybody kind of starts to tune out after a while because they're like, well, I don't know who to believe. I don't know who's telling the truth. And that's a scary thing for me now in the world we live in, is if people don't have any concept of the truth or who might be saying it, then they're not going to care. And it's just going to be whoever says whatever they want first becomes the truth. And that's not good. And I said something yesterday, I was talking to you guys, and I said something about Ronald Reagan. And I thought later on in the day, I don't think I finished my thought on that. And I keep watching all of these excerpts from President Reagan's speeches and whatnot, and even from one of his debates. And the one thing about Reagan was he was, oh my God, another giant perch. Boy, these are such good-looking quality fish you come off right there. Paul just had another giant perch on, and they're all 11 plus inches thick and not with eggs either. But anyway, I was talking about Reagan, and the one thing he said repeatedly is, he said, what's the 9 worst words you can hear from somebody in the government? And he said, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. That was his 9 words. And listen, one thing we all know, and on a second note is, he always said government should be smaller, not larger, and that he wanted less government interference in our day-to-day lives. And I happen to subscribe to that notion. I want less control by my federal and state government and more freedom and liberty to do as I or as any Americans please. What do you got on there? We got to stop this episode to see the world's small. And he was on the end of the blade bait.
Look at that.
Yeah, same size. And again, one of those central themes that President Reagan used to talk about in those days was less government interference. And I think nowadays that's critical, because you hear a lot about, like, we've heard one of the candidates talk about, well, there's a lack of housing in this country, and that the government needs to build more housing. Okay, but who amongst us wants to live in government housing? Like, even the sound of that phrase makes you cringe automatically, because you know full well that it's going to be the lowest possible quality because of the cost, and it's going to be in the most unappealing places, because the government doesn't have its own stuff. It doesn't have its own money, its own land. I mean, there is government land, but not that they're going to develop, not in areas that are prime locations for people to live. And so I like watching those things about Reagan in those days. It's nostalgic, but it's also, he was one of the last politicians that were talking about reducing the size of government, which means government expenditures, which means deficits, which means all of those things. And another thing too is the absolute spending like a drunk sailor that our government has been doing and sending so much money, taxpayer money, overseas to some countries that aren't even our friends. That's another one that really bites you. It's one thing you send money to your allies, although none of our allies sent money to us after these two hurricanes. It's one thing to send money to your allies in times of need or whatever, but we send a lot of money to people that are not our allies in any way, shape, or form. And especially in lieu of, and it's one thing if we were all sitting here like we lived in Dubai and our quality of life was through the roof and everybody was well taken care of here. I can understand being more philanthropic and giving things and money to other people and countries and groups and yada yada, but boy, it sure seems like we ought to take care of what's at home first. And that's just good business. So that's my oh, Paul's on again. That's my 5 minutes of politics. I've got that same blade you've got. I might have to put it on because this silver one isn't, I've got silver prism, another giant perch. Boy. Yeah, I mean, if you like perch porn, these perch out here are beautiful. Absolutely spectacular. Another one. Slippery little suckers too. Let's get a measurement on him. I bet you he's going to push 11. Ow, ow, ow. 10 and a half. All right, look at us. We covered some fishing, we covered some sports, and we covered some politics. Not bad. Not bad. I think on that note, we're going to call it a day here. We're doing the last cast for love. All right, buddy. Say goodbye. See everybody tomorrow. Keep your tip up.